What up, YouTube? I am your host, Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews, back in here with one more video. Why black women lead with their degrees when qualifying themselves for relationships. This comes from Crystalline of the Pink Pill. I saw the title of this video and I said to myself, I have to take a listen. I want to see the way that she describes this, because I think that this is a very important discussion to have. And I think it's a very important discussion to react to. Without further ado.
So oftentimes our parents will give us the best advice they know how. They tell us to get our education, go to college, keep our heads down. And so many of us will go into college doing exactly what our parents tell us to do. We miss opportunities to meet potential suitors, potential husbands in college, to create networks, etc., because that is what our parents tell us to do.
Let me focus on this point real quick. And here's the thing. When I came, into the space and started learning more information about kind of the dynamics between men and women, black men, black women, and kind of was trying to figure out, like, at what point, that's the question I was asking myself, at what point as a father do you tell your daughter to not as much focus on your achievements and your accomplishments and to prep yourself to become a wife? And I think that question right there is something that is missing out of the conversation, outside of that, the amount of young women that have fathers in their lives. That's a whole other question within that question. But that's what I often would think about, because I see these videos where it's like, 30 is not the new 20. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you can't get back your 20s now that you're in your 30s, and now you have hit the wall because you've spent all of your time in your 20s gallivanting. And listen, I don't think you should spend any time in your 20s gallivanting. I think you should be very strategic in the decisions that you're making to get whatever goal it is that you're trying to get towards. If marriage is that goal, well, you should be focused in on strategically dating in a way that doesn't expose your lady bits to the entire world. And you also enhance your femininity within that as well. So I think, like, when I hear this right here, my mind goes back to, from a tutelage perspective, right? That is definitely lacking. But then I say to myself, because I got a bunch of homegirls around me that have pursued a lot of education, okay? And what I will say is that now that they have, it's mixed results. There's mixed results as far as how many of them are married versus not married. All of them, maybe except for like one of them that I know, want to get married, have clear goals of getting married, having kids, and the entire thing, if they haven't already. But I think that really brings up a good question, right? At what point do you tell your son and your daughter, and listen, they get both the same information as young people. They both get the same information. Go to school, get good grades, right? And as they go on from a college perspective, get good grades, pass those tests, get those certifications, da-da-da. And I think that, like, now they're out into the free world and their influences are not their parents so as much. It could be the dude that they're dating. It could be their aunties in their failed relationships who were telling them how to deal with and talk to men. I've had a guest come through on the channel before, and she said at the point that she got her master's degree, her grandmother said to her, "You have just earned yourself out of marrying a man in the future." Her grandmother said, her grandmother is old school. Her grandmother said that to her, and it's something that she internalized. And I think, like, it had an impact on her. So her grandmother was able to say something to her retroactively, not proactively. But it begs the question, at what point does the switch flip so that they can get a goal of marriage out into their lives, so they can focus on improving their femininity, and right, like knowing how to work with and deal with a man, how to be a helpmate, right? Like all of these different things. But if you're teaching them that success is the key, and then they're getting to relationships and they're using their success as the key to a what you bring to a table in a relationship perspective, you see a lot of them are falling up short.
Listen, it is tough for Black women out there when it comes to marriage. The competition is extremely tough, and we don't have a lot of leverage when it comes to the men, considering that we outnumber marriageable Black men by 2 million. And so education is our safety net. It is our husband. And because it's been drilled so much into us, that is what we lead with. Everybody seems to have some kind of a complaint about Black women. We're not doing this right. We're not doing this enough. We're too this. We're not that. And so I need for this complete story to be told, and it should be told by us. Nobody who is not a Black woman should be narrating the story for us, because they're only glazing over the salient points that make us look less than.
It requires someone to identify that a problem exists, or that there's an issue or an opportunity for improvement. And in heterosexual relationships, it's not going to be women that identify that. It's not going to be women to identify that men, it's not as important to a man that a woman is a provider. Men have to stand up and speak out to things that they see happening. And based off of that information, then I think that it is, now that you've identified the problem, listen, and I think one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of like organizations, we can take it out of relationships, a lot of organizations make is that they provide solutions to things for problems that never existed. Okay? That's business rule number one, is in order to have an impact, you have to actually solve a customer's problem. And I think if you consider the customer being the man has identified an issue based off of what society is telling young women it is important, then he's identifying that problem, but you can't really get to that understanding of the problem unless the man says that. Once the problem is identified, it takes learning, it takes coursework, it takes people within your circle to course correct you in ways that have a positive impact on your life. So I think, it is important that there's materials out there for people to look at. The fact that YouTube is available, I think, is going to take the dynamics of our relationships and fast forward them positively into the future, because it allows people to understand the reality. It gets them out of the places that they are and the information that they're hearing, and then they can hear stuff not from an anecdotal experience of like-minded people around you in your echo chamber, but in aggregate, what is happening across the land, so to speak.
Our behaviors are just the tip of the iceberg. Our beliefs and values fuel what and how we behave. So the tip of that iceberg is just what everybody sees. But just like an iceberg, there's a massive body of beliefs and values that fuel the way that we act.
Let me also comment on that real quick. I think that this is not a Black woman thing. And I wanted to make that abundantly clear. I've had this actually happen to me, where they have withheld information as to their accomplishments. This happened, white women and Hispanic. They have withheld information, and then later on I'm like, oh, you also have a math degree? And I'm like, why didn't you let me, what? Like, on top of what you did, you also got a math degree during that same time. And it boggled my mind that they didn't feel comfortable to let me know those things, right? So it boggled my mind. And when I started to hear it and understand it, I think that I got it. But at the same time, I do think that understanding the why behind why you feel a need to lead with those things, I think is very important in identifying that, along with understanding if you're trying to get a dude what a dude generally values. And here's the thing. I've talked about this on my show before, is that it doesn't, I earn respect regarding your accomplishments, okay? I absolutely do, right? If you took a path in a life where it led you to maintain in your same geographic area, doing something that has relatively to no joy within your life, and you're on the hamster wheel of life, that's a lot different than someone who took life by the horns and kind of did different things in their life to achieve like a degree of happiness and joy, but then understands later on that wants to shift that into much more of a family derived experience, because the true joy in your life is not necessarily based off of your work accomplishing things that you're doing, but your joy could be in a family, right? And within kids within that, and all the dynamics that go within it. So I want to make that quick comment that this is across socioeconomic. It seems to be across race as well, that I have seen this experienced. Anyway, that's it. I just want to go through a couple of quick clips of this particular content. Feel free. I'll leave a link down in the description box down below for the couple of women that follow this channel that are interested in the pink pills content. Feel free to go over there and check out what's over there. And that's it. Questions, comments, concerns, y'all already know what to do. Mediocre tutorials and reviews at gmail.com. Hit me up. All right? Until next time, you too. Peace!